So Postmodern says, I'm afraid I fail at gray rock as a highly sensitive, emotionally sensitive person. So with gray rock, it can be difficult, especially if we do tend to, kind of over empathize with other people, especially people with problematic behavior. If we're over empathizing with them, gray rock, we don't have to be mean and we don't have to be insensitive or cruel. It's just having emotional distance from that person. So kind of like what we were talking about earlier, just realizing, okay, here's this person. They are, for whatever reason, they're really limited in this area. And, and again, like we all have limitations. But so I guess for me, kind of thinking of it in terms of that helps me to realize, okay, they're still human, but this is where their limits are. So where this is their 100%, but a normal person, or what I need in my life, is that's only 10%. Like I need a person to be able to give a lot more. But because this is where they are, this is how they act, this is what their behavior is, I have to keep myself safe and sane. And so this is how I'm going to do that. I have to kind of keep this boundary there where I don't get roped in emotionally. And I kind of realize, okay, this person's not, they're not my people. Like, we're not going to see eye to eye on things. We're they have a pattern of stirring the pot and of triangulating and of trying to just bait me in to arguing. And I don't want that in my life. And so I'm going to anticipate that behavior, and I'm going to just keep myself emotionally distant from them. So our conversations are going to be polite. They're going to be short. They're going to be very superficial. We're not going to talk about anything that's going to try to, that they're going to perceive as causing some sort of narcissistic injury, to where that's going to trigger that me versus you dynamic in them. So we're going to keep the conversation superficial and light, and sort of like you would with a neighbor that you hardly knew, or, your great aunt. Like, it's kind of like on that level of polite, but, it's friendly, but it's not familiar. You're not letting them get to you, and you're just, you realize kind of what you're walking into, and you just don't stay around it for any length of time, because I've danced this dance before, and I'm tired of it. So I'm not going to keep doing this over and over again. But, I think too, a lot of times with most things in life, is oftentimes it takes enough pain for us to kind of really learn that lesson. And I think gray rock, and of course, really distancing ourselves from an emotional manipulator, oftentimes it takes us experiencing quite a bit of pain for us to really understand what we're dealing with. Because again, most of us can't even comprehend that people like this walk the earth. So it's hard, it's really hard for us to fully embrace that this person is just manipulative and drama and pot stirring and abusive and problematic. It's hard for us to fully embrace that and to let go of the fantasy and the hope that maybe we could get through to them, or maybe that, kind of given enough love or therapy or rehab or church or understanding, that they really could change. It's hard to let go of that, and it's hard to really see them for who they are. But, the sooner we do that, the better off we are. But some of us, myself included, it can take getting burned by their behavior several times before we really fully see, we're like, okay, yep, like this is what I'm dealing with, and I'm done. Like, I'm done. I'm going to keep myself at a distance as much as possible, and I'm not doing this in my life. I don't need this. Yeah, Ben says, gray rock technique takes practice. It really, really does. And I think one of the hardest things about going gray rock is anticipating it and not getting knocked off center, because that's their goal as oftentimes. So, you know, like, it's one thing to kind of know ahead of time, okay, I'm going to anticipate this behavior. It's another thing to be able to keep your cool when they just give you these zingers out of left field that you just feel like you just got, knocked for a loop. We're like, wow, I did not see that coming. Like, I did not expect them to bring, they just upped and left me and our newborn child, and now they are filing for divorce, and 2 weeks later they're bringing a new girlfriend into court. What? So, like, surprise things like that, like they do this, like, highly emotional things, or you haven't heard from them in 6 months, then all of a sudden you get a text out of the clear blue saying that they love you, they'll do anything to make it work. These things that knock a person off center, is that's what they're known for. And it can be hard to anticipate all of the different ways that a person can throw you for a loop. But I think just knowing that they're probably going to throw you for a loop and to expect anything, and if you're going to if you're going to have to encounter them for any reason, whether it's court or shared custody, or you work with them, or they're, kind of what have you, to prepare yourself emotionally as you possibly can ahead of time. And here's a quick little mantra that I used to have. I still do have, depending on my need for it. But to tell yourself, I am not easily stressed, impressed, or intimidated. I am not easily stressed, impressed, or intimidated. And kind of just centering yourself. And so then when you do have to encounter them or have communication with them, that you're in that, kind of a right mindset to be able to handle anything that they throw your way. And again, it really does take practice. So don't get down on yourself if you find yourself becoming really, really reactive. You fall for it. They bait you in, they say something that's really provoking, and you fall for it because you are human. And these are incredibly emotional situations and dynamics. And everything about it is incredibly difficult. Everything about it. Healing from it, getting validation from others, getting support from family and friends, feeling heard, trying to figure it out yourself. There's a lot to it. So if you do fall into being reactive versus being responsive, because that's a difference there. Reactive is they give an action, you give a reaction. You're just reacting to them. Giving a response is something that's more planned out. So if you know ahead of time, okay, they're gonna focus on your weight or your parenting or your car or your job or what have you, to have an idea in your head of how you're going to respond to that instead of just that knee-jerk reaction. And again, it does take practice, but you will get there, and it's very empowering when you do get there, where you're like, you know what, I own my space, I own my responses, I am not going to let this person ruin my day or steal any more of my joy or happiness. I see their behavior for what it is. I anticipate it. I see their limiting behavior as limiting. This is not a reflection of me. This is a reflection of them. Like, this is all on them. If they think acting dramatic or erratic or emotional is somehow a negative reflection on me, they're wrong, because it's making them look like a fool. It's making them look dramatic and erratic and emotional. So I'm not gonna feed into this. I'm just gonna let their behavior speak for itself, and I'm not gonna let them steal my joy. So lots of love to you guys. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and you really can move forward and heal from this.